were you confident in what you had built out at the time, or was it definitely like a scary phase for you to try to figure out, hey, like I'm testing this out, but like I have all of these people that I'm starting out with as a test. Like, was that scary at all, that thought process?
Heck yeah, it's scary. But
Yeah.
I think through the journeys in my life, I built the confidence to be able to perform, to be able to get the outcome that I want.
Mm,
And I'm the ready, fire, aim type mentality. And so I'll make five decisions and take five actions before the average person will make one. And
yeah.
I might fail at three or four of those, or they may not have been good decisions or actions for three or four of them, but the one will hit and it'll hit a home run. Right. And
Mm.
so it's all about that kind of, for me anyway, it was that ready, fire, aim type mentality.
What's going on, and welcome to the Take a Step podcast. I'm your host, Josh Johnston, founder of Take a Step. It's a community that's focused on bringing together like-minded individuals who are all purpose-driven towards taking action to maximize their God-given potential. If you find value in this podcast, please leave a rating and review on whichever platform you're listening. It really helps us to continue to grow this community and change more lives for the better. Feel free to give me a follow on social media at __ take a step __ and reach out to me if you have any questions or just want to connect. With that being said, let's dive in. Hudson, what's going on, brother? Happy to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining today.
Hey Josh, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be here. I've heard a lot about you, and super excited to dive in, man.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to just kind of open up just to let the audience get to know you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about yourself and just go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience however you think it makes sense.
Yeah, my name Hudson Wikoff, as you mentioned, brother. I am a very faith-driven man. I'm married to my wife of 10 years. We've been together for 19 years, and together for more than half of my life now. So we're actually high school sweethearts. Got together my sophomore going in my junior year, and have been together really pretty much ever since. We did take like a 10-month break in my senior year of college, but it actually ended up being probably the best thing we could have done for our relationship, and found out, hey, the pasture's not the green on the other side. And so it's brought us close together. We have three kids. We have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. I always tell people that ask me about, what's it like having three kids that don't have three kids, is that it was more difficult for us than actually transitioning into the first kid. But all
Mm,
of them are completely different personalities, and love them all exactly the same. It's crazy how you can have so much love as a parent. Um, I have been in the health and fitness industry going back to 2009, coaching, where I started my career in that industry. Kind of on not on purpose. I had two reconstructive knee surgeries playing college football. After the second one, I decided to hang up the cleats, and actually the coaches had invited me on to become a student athlete coach. And then I hung out for a couple years there afterwards as well and continued coaching. Had an amazing opportunity to coach overseas with them in Vienna, Austria. And then when I came back, coached just a little bit longer. Um, and graduated with management and finance degree, went back to school to get my MBA. Didn't actually finish that because I was getting recruited and moved by a company called DuPont. Did that for several years while still doing health and fitness on the side, just kind of more as a passion project until about
mm,
2015. And then went full in, left the pension benefits, 401k, everything behind with a baby on the way, took a 67% pay cut, decided to go run a fitness gym, right? Sounds like a great idea.
yeah.
But that's where I ended up in life. I don't know if my parents were the happiest about it. I can tell you that my in-laws were definitely not happy about it. Uh, but like, what are you doing with our daughter, right? You got a baby on the way. Like, you're
Yeah.
leaving this great job. Had an opportunity to oversee 13 sites, become regional SHEC manager, safety, health, environment, and quality for DuPont. So obviously some great opportunities there, but I didn't like where my life was heading.
Mm,
And ultimately, that's kind of it was one of the most difficult decisions. It's like you can stand at the edge for so long until you finally decide to jump, and then hope and pray that you grow wings on the way down. Um, so as I mentioned, like, faith is a big part of my life. My family is a big part of my life, and obviously being in health and fitness going back to 2009 is a big part of my life. And entrepreneurship. I've been a full-blown entrepreneur really since, I guess you could say since I was a kid, with lemonade stands, mowing lawns,
There you go.
selling cards and cars, and any way that I could really just try to make money. But officially started up my first official LLC back in 2020. And prior to that, I had grown an online fitness and nutrition coaching company to a very successful company, to the point to where, you fast forward from say 2009 to, 2019 timeframe, I'd helped nearly 5,000 people in the space. And in the grand scheme, like that sounds cool on paper, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that much. Like the impact isn't that much.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at 335, I think that's what it is, 335 million people in America, and 75% of them are either overweight or obese. And it's like, wait a second, like we haven't even made a dent.
Yeah.
And so that brought me into the opportunity to start creating and selling, not giving away, but selling my business in a box, essentially in the online fitness space, which brought me to a lot of different door opening opportunities, and ultimately brought me down just south of Nashville, where I live here today with my family.
Very cool. Awesome. Love to hear that, dude. 3 kids. What's that? How old are they?
Yeah, man. So again, 7, 5, and 2, girl, boy. The 2 girls were angel babies, and I used to hate telling parents this, but my first started sleeping through the night at 13 weeks old. My second started sleeping through the night at 7 weeks old. And I hate telling other parents that because that rarely ever happens. Like kids sleeping, like I'm talking like 10, 12 hours through the night at that time frame, to where like at 7 weeks, we had to like wake her up to feed her in the middle of the night still. And she wouldn't even budge or wake up or do anything. So it was like a quick 5-minute feed and done. But then along came my third, and he gave us a slap of reality in the face. And I think God humbled us with the judgment of other parents, because I was like, I'm a human being, right? It sometimes happens. And so I would judge me like, oh, wow, like they must not be parenting right. And so God slapped me with some humility, and and made me realize that it's not just that simple, and things can be a lot more difficult. So my little man, he didn't sleep through the night until about 8 months. He was up almost every hour on the hour up to that point. So sleep deprivation, just crazy emotional roller coaster. He's a very inspirational and powerful and strong young man. We'll put it that way. He expresses himself to the loudest and highest degree that I've ever seen possible. So yeah, he's an intense little dude, but I love him, little man.
Yeah, that's awesome. My wife and I are expecting our first, and we're doing September. So hoping we get the schedule of one of your first 2 on the first way around.
Yeah, I wish you luck, man. I want to say congratulations. There's nothing more life-changing than that, when the world revolves only around you and kind of around your wife to a degree, right? And then all of a sudden everything shifts, and it just revolves around, how do I keep this one human being alive? Because there's no playbook on it, right? You can read books on it, but nothing correlates directly to what your experience is going to be like. So I know regardless, you guys will figure it out, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, we're fired up about it. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. We started dating when in between our freshman and sophomore year of college. So we dated for a while, and it's always something we talked about, and it's kind of surreal that time is finally coming. So we're excited.
Let's go.
Yeah. So where'd you play college ball at?
Augustana College. So they are located in on the Iowa-Illinois border in Rock Island, Illinois. I had the opportunity to walk on redshirt down in Southern Illinois, Salukis, who was Division I, and I got a little homesick. I didn't want to go down that far. I went and visited school a couple times. It was like, this is too far from home. At the time, it was just like, I need to be closer to my parents. So this school was just about 45 minutes away. Had the opportunity to walk on and play right away, or to go there and play right away. And their claim to fame is back-to-back NCAA national championships. That was back in, the late 70s. But yeah,
were they FCS at that time, or what is it full Division I?
No, it's Division III NCAA.
Got it. Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, because I played baseball in college at a NAIA school, so I get the grind of a small college athlete.
Yeah, man, it's crazy too, because like going to high school, I throw out the accolades, right? Not as a brag, but just kind of like show the point that I'm trying to get across is um, we were 3A in football. I was all state in offensive defense, defensive linebacker, offensive tight end. Thought that I was the greatest thing, right? And I'm going to go off to college and do these cool things. And it's like you're the top 1% in your school, and then all of a sudden you go to college and you're just surrounded by other one percenters
Yep.
in the college football game. And I'm sure for you for college baseball, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of other people out there that are better than I am by a long
Yeah,
shot.
for sure.
It's getting another humbling experience, right?
Yeah, and it's cool, especially you go to a small college, because for me, I was like, all right, I'm going to a smaller school. I'm going to like the reason I was going to a smaller school to get was to play. Like I was either
Exactly.
like, do I want to go to a smaller, Division I or a big D2 and fight my chance to get some playing time, late sophomore or start my junior year, or do I want to go somewhere and play? And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll go to a smaller college and play. And then I get there, I'm like, I still got to work. Like there's still a lot of work to be done, and like it's really cool. I love the small college athlete mindset, because like you can go to a big college and play and get the the clout, the notoriety. It's a lot easier to stick it out at a bigger school, even if you're not playing, because you have the aura of being a Division I athlete. But if you're at a smaller school, you're buying all your food, you're buying a lot of your gear. And it is an absolute grind. So like I love the mindset of being able to stick it out with a small school. The brotherhood that's developed through that. I took so much out of just being an athlete specifically at a smaller school. So I love the mindset that comes with that.
That's so true, man. We saw so many people come and go from our freshman year all the way to the senior year. And although I wasn't able to finish all 4 years, just mainly due to injury and, I had left my sophomore year, ACL, MCL, PCL, ACL, MCL, and PCL all torn. My sophomore year came back my junior year and retore the same ACL, but then this time got the meniscus.
Yeah.
And so after that, I think just the confidence in the knee itself was just gone. I was like, yeah, there's no way. But again, having the amazing opportunity to kind of come on the staff side of things, which was awesome. Just still be there with the brotherhood.
Yeah, for sure. So is that kind of how you got your start into? I know you started out in health and fitness. Was that kind of your first way into health? Like when you first started, was the plan to take your experience that you were going to gain as a being on the staff with a football team and then take it into health and fitness, or did you want to stay in the football realm?
Yeah, no, I really had no expectations. It was just like living life one day at a time.
Yeah.
And really not knowing what the next day was going to bring me. And after coming back from overseas, I had another opportunity to do a mission trip down to Africa, which absolutely just changed my life, and bringing clean water and shoes to kids that have never owned a pair of shoes, and walking into these villages of the Maasai tribe that they never experienced, just simple things like having a pair of shoes, and just see them light up their face, but then also give us everything, including like the clothes off their back when they have nothing, was like a really eye-opening experience and changing moment for me, which did shift a lot of things, just introspectively for me. So when I came back, I did start to lean into the health and wellness side of things a lot more. I opened up quote unquote opened up a garage fitness gym at my mom's house, and basically just kind of like gave it away to like my friends. And then all of a sudden, I was like, okay, like let's charge some money for this so we can actually pay my dad back for, helping me buy all this stuff, because I told him I'd pay him back. So I was charging like $20 a month. And before I knew it, we had like 20 people working out in my mom's garage while I was living in her basement, graduate of college. And this is what I'm doing in my life right now.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a funny moment that it's like, dude, this is pretty cool, but it's not paying the bills. So that's when I went and got that quote, that full-time job at DuPont, and had the opportunity to work my way up, but still would wake up in the morning, do training in the morning, train quote unquote a class from my mom's garage, and then come back home and train another class after work. And it's just what I love to do. But it was 2011 that I wanted to do something a little bit different as far as my own personal fitness goes, because I was used to like the bro strength and just like football, like in college sports, like let's just lift this weight however we can.
Yeah, let's double scoop some pre-workout,
exactly.
Put up some big numbers, and drink some mass gainer as we leave.
Dude, straight to the dome powder sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And my wife had introduced me to a new training methodology that I had heard of, but I kind of just gave crap to because I was a bro football player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was CrossFit. And when I went to do CrossFit, it was probably one of the most humbling experiences, but it was also something that I was greatly missing in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
that was camaraderie and brotherhood and community. And that's what that brought me, in the competitiveness. And so we could go down the CrossFit world for a long time, but long story short is I got into it at a very deep level. 2011, moved in 2013, was on a CrossFit Games team in 2014, individual, in 15, 16. First daughter was born in 16, decided to give it up, but still kind of played around in that world for the next few years. So, yeah.
Very cool. So when in your journey did you kind of realize the opportunity in the online space with what your passion in the fitness industry and what you've learned through training people? It's like when did you learn that there was an opportunity to even take that and scale that online?
Yeah, there was a bit of it done in 2000, 2018, probably more 2019.
Yeah.
And it was more so like friends of friends and family, that was across the nation, right? And just
Mm-hmm.
because they'd seen what I was doing with other people and the lives that the transformations that have happened just from posting um other people's transformations, other people's stories online. They're like, "Hey, can you help me do this from out here in Washington while I was living in Indianapolis at the time?" I was like, sure, let's do it. And then what really, obviously, I think for a lot of people was the shutdown, right? And COVID
Yeah.
time frame. And so that's where, I'd lost pretty much 100% of my clients. Decided to make a shift to basically 100% online at that time. It was 100% online. And that was the full pivotal shift right there. But the good thing is that I had a lot of the systems and the automations already in place to
That's what I
then
was
kind
going to
of build
ask
off
about.
of.
Yeah.
And I utilize for business side of things a CRM system called Go High Level, and I've been using that for several years now. It's just basically a CRM platform that it brings like Calendly booking, appointment booking systems in, like your Typeform, SurveyMonkey, uh, email or MailChimp. So basically like all these different softwares under one roof,
Mm-hmm.
which was really what I needed because I was spending way too much money on all these different softwares, and then to be able to bring them under one roof was just absolutely massive. So that's how I was able to kind of grow and scale my online fitness coaching business at one time up to 175 people. And at one time when I went online, I was like, dude, there's no way I can handle more than 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to bring in automations and just finding ways to make your life a lot easier, scaling your business, especially in the online platform, becomes infinitely easier.
Yeah.
And when I cracked the code on that was when I was like, dude, I got to get this out to other coaches because going back to like my original impact, like 5,000 people, what if I went and gave this to 5,000 coaches that then went and had an impact on 5,000 lives? Now we make an indent on that 335 million, 75% of those.
Yeah. So when you made that step, was it like were you confident that you already knew how to operate all the softwares, or was it daunting to you to say, "Hey, I'm starting to scale this. Like I'm going to go from 20 to 175." Like were you confident in what you had built out at the time, or was it definitely like a scary phase for you to try to figure out, "Hey, like I'm testing this out, but like I have all of these people that I'm starting out with as a test." Like was that scary at all, that thought process?
Heck yeah, it's scary. But
Yeah.
I think through the journeys in my life, I built the confidence to be able to perform and be able to get the outcome that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the ready, fire, aim type mentality. And so I'll make five decisions and take five actions before the average person will make one. And
Yeah.
I might fail at three or four of those, or they may not have been good decisions or actions for three or four of them, but the one will hit and it'll hit a home run, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's all about that kind of, for me anyway, it was that ready, fire, aim type mentality. It was learning the system and building the system as I go, and it was daunting. It was scary, but at the same time, I knew that I had no other choice, especially when you have two kids at the time and you got mouths to feed. Your
Yeah.
back's up against the wall. You left a corporate job, you left a gym, and you're out on your own. Like you have no other choice.
No, let's talk about that. So where was your head at when like what were some of the things you were playing out mentally when it first became, hey, this could actually be something where I step away from, the security and the long-term opportunities that are comfortable, quote unquote. that you get from that corporate level job to say, you know, I see an opportunity here. It's going to bring me fulfillment and I'm going to chase it. Like what were you playing out in your head at that time?
Yeah, leaving corporate DuPont, you know, I was vested in there, had pension, 401k benefits, you know, all of that stuff. Great salary. I was literally being interviewed to oversee 13 locations on the East Coast for regional check manager, and I had the opportunity up to that point to rub elbows with some very high level people in you know, corporate DuPont. Obviously, I think pretty much everyone knows DuPont or the name DuPont, right? Corporate 100 company. And through these relationships, I had opportunities to literally go to some of the highest level people in the company's house and, you know, have a beer with them. They invited me to audit sites. I became an auditor very quickly, and I was actually in Hawaii at the time auditing a couple sites. So it was really cool. All expense paid for a trip down there. It's funny, we had just recently moved to Indianapolis. My wife got a new job, and she's only been working there for like 90 days. She was still quote unquote in probation period. And I was like, dude, you got to come to Hawaii with me. Like, this is like a 3-week trip, all paid for. We don't need to pay for anything. House right on the beach, our own house, like everything, right? And she asked and they didn't give it to her, so she quit. And so we're just like, you know what? Again, we'll figure it out on the way. But while we're in Hawaii, I get this call from a couple gym owners that I was training at and coaching classes at the time in Indianapolis. Like, hey, we just got a call from a local gym here, and they said they want to get rid of their gym and basically hand the keys over. We want to hand the keys over to you if you're interested. Because I've been telling them, like, guys, if you don't give me a job here, like, I'm going to go ahead and just open up my own gym. And so I think that was probably one of the biggest reasons why I left. You know, I was bringing home a ton of stress in the corporate world. I had a cell phone attached to me that was, you know, if I was called at 3 a.m., like I had to drive an hour to the hospital to go meet someone to be able to try to work my way around us getting an OSHA violation, right? And that's what my job was. And it wasn't a fun job. It wasn't like fulfilling, necessarily speaking. And so I think the hardest part mentally was knowing the comfort, the security was going to be gone. That I couldn't rely on, say, you know, a guaranteed weekly set number that I knew was coming in, that I could build a budget off of. I think that was probably the scariest thing. It was something that I wanted to do for a long time, but never essentially had the cojones to do it.
Yeah.
And
I
I was
think,
in Hawaii. Yeah.
go ahead.
I was in Hawaii and just kind of reflecting on the phone call that I just had. And I was like, dude, I was just given this amazing opportunity. It's one of the most sought after opportunities within DuPont and the Czech world for them to come here to these sites and to do this audit. And this is what they've given me. And I was playing this story in my head to where it's like, how can I take this and then come back and put my 2 weeks in? And ultimately, like after reflection, it's like, if that's the story in my head that's going to stop me from actually living out my dream, my passion, and I don't take this step, is ultimately what's going to happen is I'm probably going to stay in this role, continue to work my way up, get paid a great salary, but probably be unhappy. Probably have to travel away from my family because I'm going to be overseeing 13 sites, not being home with my kids, not having the impact and the imprint on my kids that I want. What is that worth? Is it worth a couple extra $100,000 for me? No, it wasn't.
Dude, that's awesome. That's so powerful. I resonate a ton with that story, which we can get into in a second. But what obviously you mentioned the idea of not having the security long term was a huge factor for you. How much of a factor was it also being able to explain that to family, to friends, to your wife, to your in-laws? Like, was that another factor, or did you not care? Was it more solely focused on what you had to do and how that scared you? Was it like, did the aspect of having to take the decision that you were going to make, which obviously was less secure, and explain that to everyone else?
I think back then I wasn't super comfortable with myself and who I was.
Yeah.
I was just a person who I was told to be and built off of my experiences that have been kind of put on me. And so I didn't know how to have those types of conversations back then to be able to formulate the response that I probably really truly needed to have, which then resulted in probably the thoughts that maybe my parents or my in-laws had about me taking that leap of faith and showing them and telling them like authentically what it truly meant to me. I don't think I knew how to have those conversations at that point in time.
Yeah.
So that could have been why the change was so dramatic at the time with family.
Yeah. And like, I know for me and so many people I know, like a huge something that stops people from really taking that leap and taking that step is the fear of, how others will perceive their decision. And I heard something recently that I love, that like, it's funny when you hear something and it's like, God, I've always thought this, but I actually finally hear it in the right words. That makes so much sense to me. Someone talked about the fear of God versus the fear of man, and how so many people, even professing believers, live their life based on the fear of man rather than the fear of God. The fear of man being they place more of their identity in what man will think of them and what man will say about them and how man will perceive their decisions, rather than, their identity rested secure in God and understanding that God's created each individual on purpose for a specific, unique purpose. And they're busy living their lives based on what everyone else's purpose is instead of their own. And I think once you can finally come in and step into the shoes of saying, no, this is my purpose, so I'm going to make the decision based off of what I think God has designed me to be, not what God has designed him to be or her to be, or anyone else in my life, even family. Because I think that, like you were talking about, I think that's it is so much. It's exponentially greater when it comes from your mom or your dad or your father-in-law or your mother-in-law, because it seems like so much of a greater weight on your actual life. But at the end of the day, like owning what you believe your purpose is, what's going to bring you fulfillment, ultimately what's going to bring God the glory.
100%. Now, how old are you?
26.
26, man. I wish I had that figured out at 26 years old. It took me a lot longer than that to figure that out. And so I 100% resonate with that. And I was in that spot back then as well. Like I said, like I didn't know who I was essentially at that point in time. I think that would have been, if that was 2015, roughly 10 years ago. I'm 36 now. So that was 26. Yeah. So when I was 26, so when I was about your age, was when I was leaving the corporate world.
Yeah. Because I resonate with your story a lot. Because when I came out of college, I wanted to go into business because that's what everyone does who's still trying to figure it out. Got a sales job, was selling advertising for a little bit, heavy phone call driven, pick up the phone, start dialing, you have your leads, which at the end of the day, I had an unbelievable boss, had a great experience with, I've always had great bosses and I'm very fortunate from that perspective, but I experienced burnout really quickly, but I gained a lot of great, skills that I still use to this day, how to develop rapport, how to have communication, and kind of guide a conversation the way you want it. But went from there to got a job at a great corporate company, Cox Enterprises. Most people are familiar with Cox, but, like you were talking about, the long-term security, the benefits, how I could project the career development over time just gave me a lot of security, and I was at peace with that. But I would, 9 to 5, wake up, go throughout my days, and it was just like, pulling teeth getting through the day. And every other Friday when the paycheck came in, I was happy. It made things very easy at home, but like you were talking about a second ago, it was so hard for me to say, is right now what I see every other Friday worth how I feel throughout, 95% of my life, 95% of my days. And the answer over time just became so apparent that I wasn't willing to sacrifice the now for what I knew my long-term fulfillment was, or where it lied. So that's where I kind of, stepped out, created this podcast. This podcast led to another full-time role that I'm currently in the life and coaching space, building out, coaching curriculum and building this podcast through Take a Step. So it's so cool to see how, like, once you realize where that fulfillment will come from, being able to take that action, God, there's just so much fulfillment that comes from that. And it's fun to build that over time.
It's mentally challenging over a long period of time, especially when you start to get the idea of entrepreneurship and building your own business, building your own thing, for putting all of your blood, sweat, and tears into someone else's business, especially in the corporate world when you don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
And it was almost like becoming resentful for me, just to some degree. And this comes from a friend, mentor, coach, colleague of mine, is that, the entrepreneur leaves the 9 to 5 to live a more fulfilling freedom style life. But what the entrepreneur doesn't realize is that they're leaving the 9 to 5 to work a 9 to 9. And
Yeah.
that's not 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., right? That's 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. It's just, it never shuts off. But the difference is, my wife and I were just having this conversation, is like the entrepreneurial roller coaster is crazy. Like there's always ups and downs, right? Doesn't matter what level that you're at, there's going to be ups and downs. And is it all worth it? And I told her, of course it is. Like the grind, of the lows and the happiness of the highs, 100% is worth it because it's something that we're building. And
Mhm.
the level of satisfaction and gratitude and that goes into that versus again just showing up almost kind of mindlessly doing the work in a corporate type of world. For me anyway, that was my experience. Far exceeds a couple extra hours I got put in for my own business.
Yeah, man, I love it. And I know you've kind of made the transition. I know you're still doing some in the fitness world and you've kind of automated that system, but I know you've made the transition into, heavy in that automation, getting into the AI conversation of business. I'd love just to kind of dive in a little bit. Give me, because AI is this conglomerate that so many people think they have an understanding of, but so many people still have so much that to figure out. From a very, very beginner's perspective, like give me a minute crash course on what AI is and the power that it holds.
I'll think I can do it in a minute, but I'll move quick in it. So I'll set it up first. Is that so? I've been in the AI space since 2020. Really, that's when it counts. Most people got into it in November of 2022 with the release of ChatGPT.
Mm.
But I've been using it for a long time. A lot of us have been actually using it for a long time. If you're using Siri, if you've been watching Netflix, like all of that is AI. Right. So you guys have been using, we just didn't realize it. AI actually came out back in the 50s when companies started using it with just the invention of computers. And then we moved into kind of phase two of AI, which was like the algorithms of like the Amazons, of the Netflix, when they say, hey, we recommend that you buy this, or we recommend
Mm.
that you watch this, all based off of artificial intelligence algorithms. But the game changer was having large language models that had an open API. And basically, that gave developers access to go out there and integrate in different types of technologies, third-party apps to be able to create customization for that. And that happened kind of around the 2018, 2020 time frame. But again, for the mass majority of public, what became the easiest was the release of OpenAI's ChatGPT 3.5, to where you could then go in and have a conversation with a chatbot. And so I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. And
I,
like
I,
so,
I can take
and I
this a
because
hundred
I
different
know
ways. Yeah.
recently, like obviously Chat GPT has been huge, but like especially getting into how businesses have started to incorporate AI to automate a lot of their systems and processes. Because I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about it. A lot of people there's a lot of fears that come along with it, like as far as job opportunities getting taken by AI, as far as the lack of personalization in companies and things like that. Like what like do you hear just being in the world, do you hear a lot of these common fears being brought up and talked about and discussed about how what what the fears of AI are as it starts to be more incorporated by the business world?
Yeah, in the business world, for me, one of the biggest shifts and kind of eye-opening leverage opportunities is when I was creating meal plans, as an example. It would take me about an hour and 15 minutes on average to create someone's customized macros and calories. I think people realize like how much effort, time, effort, and energy actually went into that before, especially like AI. Uh, and that was looking at blood work analysis. That was looking at obviously all their biometrics, all their past behaviors and habits, and then what do we actually want to get to, and identifying that gap, and then attacking that gap with their goals and what they want to get to. And what came along with ChatGPT was the ability to have a conversation with a chatbot. And if we want to take that down another level, it's what's called prompting and prompt engineering, and learning how to ask the bot in the right way to be able to get the response back that you want. Garbage in, garbage out. Great information in, great information out. And so when I fully dove into learning and understand prompt engineering and how to actually speak, like just like you and I are conversating, or if I was to go to Mexico, like I got to learn how to speak Spanish, right? That's going to be the number one skill anybody can learn, whether you're an individual or you're a business owner or just someone that wants to increase their productivity inside of someone else's business, is how to speak to chatbots, how to speak to robots, because it's not going away. And if you as an individual or you as a company are not utilizing it, you are going to be left behind by your competition. So I had the ability to then go in with this meal plan as an example, take an hour and 15 minutes worth of time down to about 90 seconds start to finish. And that was through the prompt engineering side. Like, yes, anybody can go in there and say, help me write a meal plan for me who's 200 pounds. I want to lose X number of pounds in a certain number of time frame, right? It'll basically bring you spit out a meal plan. But if you actually look at the calories that it's given, the calories aren't right, right? If you look at the food and you look at the example like a chicken breast, a lot of that stuff is not going to be accurate if you actually go through MyFitnessPal and start to log it. And so it's the prompt engineering that happens in the background to where, again, I could take someone's intake form, put it into this robot that I created, this chatbot that I created, and it would essentially spit out a 7-day meal plan down to the exact gram using their intake form and certain formulas on the back end, and then giving a 7-day grocery list along with that, all in just 90 seconds. Like that was like a pivotal moment for me. And so it's the idea for other businesses is using that kind of same example. It's not going to take jobs away. It's going to only enhance the people who are able to leverage it. And if you don't leverage it, I promise you, you will be left behind. Because again, it's not going anywhere. We can't expect as humans, though, at the same time, for it to do 100% of the work. That's where I'm very bullish in the AI agents. And AI agents are here. I build AI agents for other companies. And they will do about 100% of the work. But you still have to kind of initiate it, but then they'll do 100% of the work from there. Is where do you humify it? We always talk about AI-ifying your business, but if we just focus on that, how do we humify that? Because we still have to have some level of human interaction with it.
That was going to be my next question is like, has there been anything done, and it sounds like you're about to get into it, about like where's the trade-off or where's the balance between allowing AI to take, the responsibilities or just the lower level tasks that, used to take up, majority of an employee's day. But at the same time, from a consumer's perspective, there's that lack of personalization. So where's that trade-off? How does that balance play out as AI starts to take over a lot of those initial or lower level tasks?
So a prime example with that is I worked with a solar company, and the big thing with solar company is how many doors they can knock a day.
Yeah.
Right. And so they just need kids in there that are willing to go out there, be motivated, and go knock 100 doors a day. And so we need to hire as many people as possible. And that takes a lot of time, the hiring process. But if we could build a chat bot that could go through and qualify and essentially hire these people 100% through automation and AI, I say 100% loosely because there's still some level of humifying in it, which I'll get to in a second, through that process. But in order for that all to happen is we have to build a chat bot and train it on that company information and train it on the way that we want it to speak. And so one way I'll do that for an individual, as an example, is if you're like myself and I'm coaching other male entrepreneurs, and I had a deep conversation with someone. I feel like this guy's really getting it and had a deep understanding. I feel like some of the messaging that I've shared has been really impactful. I'm going to take that entire SMS conversation. I'm going to go put that into ChatGPT. I'm going to say, help me extract my conversational style, my use of emojis, my use of slang, my use of grammatical errors, and help me create my conversational style. And it'll essentially look at that entire conversation, and it'll create your conversational style for SMS, for coaching. I'll do it for professional matter. I'll do it for emails. I'll do it for direct messaging on social media. So now when I have chatbots in my Facebook and Instagram account, is that they're talking like me based off of past conversations that I personally have had, and taking people through the process, the proven process that I'm trying to get this chatbot to do. That's how I can make it seem more like a personal interaction. And so for this solar business, there's multiple conversations on here to where I'll go back and I'm kind of looking through some of the conversations. This probably happened in like February, March timeframe. There's multiple text messages from people saying, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm truly looking forward to it. This is one of the best interview processes I've ever gone through. And there was no human involved with it. And that's the power of AI. And so in 1 week's time frame, essentially I hired 60 people through the use of this chat bot, like how much time is saved with that for that company, continue to work on the company, strategize, where's the next state we want to evolve into? How do we actually train up the people that we now have? How do we, again, build these relationships to be the best company to work for?
Mm-hmm. Very cool. So
'Cause we
right now,
need one. Go ahead.
are you working? Do you essentially coach companies on how to incorporate and utilize AI to the best, to the best of their abilities?
Yeah, that's one thing that we do is enterprise AI consulting. And so
Yeah.
it's literally going in and almost auditing their business from advertising to marketing to sales to production to fulfillment to internal system and processes, onboarding and training,
Yeah.
all of that stuff, and saying, hey, here's an opportunity that we have to implement in automation, right? Here's an opportunity to where we have to implement in artificial intelligence.
Mm.
And what I've found is it has to be on multiple conversations. And so it's obviously starting at the top down. Where do we actually want to implement this in? And it's like, cool, let me go ahead and have a conversation with your admin leader. Cool, let me have a conversation with your sales leader and really truly like get into the weeds with some of the day-to-day activities that they're dealing with and struggling with, and maybe don't even realize that they're struggling or don't even realize that it's taking up an hour of their day that we can condense down to 10 minutes of their day.
Mm.
And so that's a question I'll ask a lot is like, how much is an hour worth to you? Most people reply back, $100 all the way up to $1,500 an hour. And the companies I'm working with, it's like, cool. Like, what if I could save you 2 hours per day? Sounds like that'd be beneficial, right?
Mm.
And then we reverse engineer how we're actually going to make that happen through
Yeah.
the AI enterprise consulting, and then start to build out whether it's the AI agents that are going in and doing the work or the automation workflows paired with AI doing the work.
So what's the biggest pushback you get from these companies that like when you introduce like what the opportunity is out there, what's the biggest pushback you get?
After we've started working together,
Yeah, like when you start to leverage like the idea of using AI and automation to, save them their time, does it usually resonate with them like right off the bat, or do they have some pushback where they're just like, I kind of want my guys to be handled that. I don't know if I want to turn that over to something that's artificial.
yeah, and I think that's kind of where there's a couple different things. It's the level of training that goes into the bot to be able to show them how human-like it can actually be,
Mm.
but also knowing that a human can come in and take over that conversation at any point in time. It doesn't matter. At the point to where we're at right now, no matter what we hear out there on ads or whatever it is that a human will outperform a bot 100% of the time, in my belief. And we're building some of the best that are out there. Um, Again, you have to be a good salesman. You have to be good at relationship building. You have to be good at
Yep.
all those things to actually for that to be hold true. But we'll call it the top sales agents, right? And so any opportunity that a human can go in and interact, I 100% recommend the company do that. But when we have a steady lead flow coming in, for example, I'm working with a coaching company based out of Arizona who's doing 14,000 new leads per month.
Mm.
They just simply like who has the capacity to handle that at a human level?
How many people do they have in their sales organization?
I want to say it's 29 or 39 coaches that they have. 29
Yeah,
or 39.
that's
You,
tough.
you just can't, right? So like they're hitting like 400 conversations per day, and it's still not enough.
Yeah.
And then it's what's the quality of that, right? So let's focus on the really hot leads that are super engaging, that's having conversations with the bot, that now they know that the likelihood of converting goes way up.
Mm. Very cool. What's the so just like looking out into the future, what do you think the over the next decade, 2 decades, like what are the opportunities with AI in the future?
Yeah, so I think it's by 2030, it's predicted to be a $15.7 trillion industry.
Jeez.
We've seen it, from just the release of computers and the impact that that had on our world, the release of the cell phone, the release of the smartphone, the release of just ChatGPT, and all of these things and how it shifted the world. I don't think that we've even seen the tip of what the impact is going to be in just the next 2 to 3 years
Yeah.
and the,
I
the shift that the entire world is going to see. It's going to be the greatest. I mean, greatest as in like large, maybe not like the greatest and the best.
mm,
I think I think it'll have a combination of both, but the largest impact that humankind has ever seen, it'll happen in the next 3 years. You had guys that have predicted AGI, artificial general intelligence, by the year 2029. And this was going back 30 years ago. And it's amazing. It was one guy, two guys essentially that predicted it at that time. And now people are saying that it's going to be here in the next 2, maximum 3 years.
Hmm.
And when we hit that level, this is going to get really kind of like out there, conversation wise.
Yeah.
But when we hit that level, is we will exponentially increase with the level of, we'll call it conceptualization in the robot world, because now essentially you have bots building other bots,
Yeah.
which are already smarter than us, have already passed bar exams, SATs, LSATs, medical exams. They've done all of these things. And when they get to the point to where they're building themselves, that's where they're then predicting, right, that we'll reach this level of super intelligence. And when we get to that level, they have consciousness, the thing that separates humans from pretty much anything else, right? Feelings and emotions. And this is where it gets really out there, is if all of that holds true, do they then have the same rights as humans?
Mm. No, I hear those conversations all the time, and I that's very interesting to me. And like for you being in that world, like is that not scary at all?
I think there's, some of the people that I listen to, you have the optimistic people, and then you have the pessimistic people
Mm.
who are gloom and doom. We got, what is it, Terminator? I think that they actually predicted in the movie the year 2028 to be like the rise of the machines or something like that. But it's always say please and thank you when you're talking to ChatGPT. No,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting hearing both sides of the coin, because I think it is super important to focus on safety. And it is interesting looking at OpenAI, ChatGPT, specifically OpenAI's board and what's been happening within that company and their safety board and their top 2 safety people leaving because they're not taking safety seriously enough. And it's like, what truly happens if we unleash this robot that doesn't really essentially even have feelings or thoughts at the time, but they just want to practice the best practices and have the best outcomes for Earth. And all of a sudden they're trained on models that show that humans are bad people because we kill each other in wars. We spit on each other in political races. We put each other down on social media, and we're causing nothing but harm to the Earth. If they don't have thoughts and emotions and feelings, their main objective is to do the best that they possibly can. Do they get rid of us because of that point? Because they see us as a threat to human or to the Earth? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? It's like almost like us looking at ants as insignificant and having no impact, and we'll walk right on top of ants.
Like, what are the chances that the power AI possesses actually gets to the point to where they can start having decision-making power over the human race?
I think there's 100% chance that it happens. It's just how we train it and how we have the ability to actually manage it.
That's
Is
surprising.
critical, because at this point there is no stopping it. The government regulations are way too far behind on it, and it just takes way too long for agencies and laws to come into place.
Hmm.
And with the amount of money and capital that's behind all of this and the people that are pushing it, there's no stopping it, and the competitiveness behind it all. So there's no stopping it at this point. It's going to be the safety that is going to be the most important piece. But with all that being said, I'm an extremely optimistic type of guy, and
Yeah.
so I want to think that it's going to have nothing but positive impact. They're by the end of this year, they're going to have a bot that can be purchased in your home, between the price range of 10,000, 16,000 at this point right now, that can fold clothes, that can do your laundry, that can do your dishes, that can cook you breakfast, that can do all of these things, clean up after your kids, and basically save you time inside your own house. So now you can spend more time with family. You can spend more time on your passion projects. Like, to me, that gets me excited. Because
Hmm.
if I could have a bot go do all that stuff, and my wife stays at home with our kids, if I could have a bot do all that stuff for my wife, I know she's pouring into our kids that much more. And then when I check out of work, it's like, boom, like I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Like, that stuff gets me excited. So again, we're leveraging it in good ways,
Hmm.
and we're essentially living cohesively, to be able to optimize our life, to be able to leverage AI.
Yeah. Very cool. And I feel like that gets into a whole nother conversation that we don't have to go into, but like, especially like when you talk about the home life stuff, like what effect then does that have on your kids? Like what effect does that have on the developmental years where, kids are already, living in a false sense of reality? Like how does that, seeing a non-human performing what are motherly nurturing tasks, like how does that affect their developmental years? You know what I mean?
It's just like we're living in a completely different world than I know you're 10 years behind me. And so I grew up in a different world than you did.
Mm-hmm.
And, people 10 years behind you are growing up in a completely different world than what you did.
Yep.
And, a lot of the stuff in social media, we're starting to see the effects and the actual science behind it now, actually having some time with social media, especially with your age range and maybe like 5 years younger than you, and the impacts that that's having on mental health.
Yeah.
And so, again, going back to one of your questions earlier is like, how does this impact the future? I think as jobs are changed, not necessarily lost, but they're changed, is that a lot of people will lose a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And when we lose a sense of purpose, what happens to humanity and mankind, I don't know. And I don't want to predict that. But I think one of the key and most integral features going forward is going to be community. And having some sort of community and having for us some sort of brotherhood. Sisterhood for the female side, right? Is going to be, the relationships is going to be absolutely crucial.
Yeah. Love that. Well, dude, it's so cool to kind of talk and hear your, what about the industry and like what the future of it looks like. And just to close out, and getting back to purpose, like you were talking about, I think that's key for me is like ultimately figuring out, helping guys figure out what their purpose is and then taking action on whatever that looks like for them relative to what their values are and how God has designed them. So, question I love to finish out with for everyone is like, what do you think it is that keeps people from taking action on creating that life that actually brings them purpose and fulfillment?
I think it's a combination of a couple of things: the fear of God and the fear of man conversation that we had earlier, and then we'll relate that kind of into faith versus fear. It's they're both the exact same thing. They're the unknown of the future. You have fear of the unknown future, that things are not going to work out in the way that you want. So if you leave, quote unquote, the corporate world, or you're nervous about starting this thing that you say that you want to start up, because you're having thoughts or feelings around what happens if it goes wrong. Right? Mm-hmm. Versus the faith of the unknown future, that God's got your back, that everything's going to work out, that it's going to be just fine, that you're walking part of the plan, and this is just all part of it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the biggest thing. If we can separate those two things out and actually turn the fear into faith and excitement, is that what is going to help you move forward. But that's what's keeping people back, is the unknown of the future and the fear that holds them back. And so if we can discover our purpose, and if we can discover our true self and identity, and having the clarity around what that looks like, I think the choice and the decision to move forward on what it is that you say that you want becomes infinitely easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think like what you just said, I think that identity piece is where purpose ultimately lies, is being confident in what your identity is, where it's found, and having that be unchanging and not resting in anyone else's hands, but what you've established for yourself. Well, dude, it's been great, picking your brain a little bit. I appreciate the time. Go ahead and let everyone know like where they can find you, where they can follow along with what you're doing and what you're building.
Yeah, most of my content goes out on Instagram, Hudson Wikoff, at Hudson Wikoff on Instagram. It's going to be the same thing on Facebook, YouTube, and what is that? Twitter, TikTok thing. Yeah. And eliteteam.ai, eliteteam.ai is the business website, to where you can just check out some of the services. You can inquire about anything, or just follow along on social media. I'd love to have you follow along.
Awesome. Well, dude, I appreciate the conversation. It's been great. Guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Take a Step podcast. If you've enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a review on whichever platform you're listening to it, whether if that's Apple Music or Spotify, and we will catch you in the next episode. Peace.